now that we've got a swig of our drinks, let's go ahead and start. Welcome, everybody, to the 12th episode of the PB Med Podcast. I'm your host, Dustin, here with my co-host, Brent. How's it going, Brent?
It's good, man. It's been a while since we've met up and done anything pickleball related besides the most recent PPA, and haven't had a ton of time to put out the content over the past few weeks. So our apologies for that, guys and gals.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it feels like it's been a little bit. It's been like almost 5 weeks since our last podcast. Like, I was sick one week, and then Brent's kids were sick, and then Brent was sick, and then it was just one thing after another. But regardless, we're here. We've made it all the way to 12. Took a long time, but we've got a lot of paddles today. A lot of paddles, a lot of updates. And like Brent was saying, I think between the two of us, we've probably got a handful of tournaments under our belt from the past 5 weeks or so. You did the PPA, Pinpoint Moneyball, Virginia Moneyball. I did a couple events at the PPA, and then we've been playing League. How's the play been for you?
It's been a little all over the place for me. PPA personally was a little. I performed a little worse than I was hoping I would. Did not make the main draw for the pro qualifier.
Yeah. For context, he says he played bad, but you played the Moneyball, which is essentially the qualifier over again, and the pro qualifier at the North Carolina PPA, right?
Yeah. I'd say, definitely the pro qualifier has some really high caliber teams. You've got teams that are pushing 5'8", 5'9", 6'0" dupers that are traveling the country and qualifying pretty regularly. And then you have like the local teams around here that are all really solid trying to get in, and a couple of our mutual friends got in to the pro draw. So lots of good teams in the pro qualifier. The Moneyball had some similar teams, some lower level teams in there too, but there was also some very high level teams in the Moneyball as well. So we did a little better in the Moneyball.
Lower level teams,
not lower level,
like teams that got beat out in 2 games, something like that.
I don't
Definitely
know
not me. It was me. So let's I did the Moneyball and 5-0 men's doubles. Brent and I were talking PPA takeaways. It's probably a little harder for me because we got beat so quick that it's hard to take takeaways from 4 games over 2 events, but I have some. So let's talk takeaways from our recent tournaments and PPA and stuff. You want to go first, or should I?
Yeah, I think I got some little nuggets that I've reflected on and, beat myself up on the past few weeks. So, like I said, pro qualifier was a little disappointing for me. My partner, Andrew, played really well. I kind of let us down, I believe. Just got a little tight, couldn't execute to what I feel like are my abilities. Got a little tight, pushed, didn't really play my game. I was playing too passive and ended up popping up some dinks, and just you can't give those guys at that pro qualifier level anything remotely attackable, or you're just in for a long bad day. And it just wasn't on for me that day. So something that I'm trying to work on is just being a little more loose in those tournament league atmospheres. I play a lot better when I'm loose, when I'm not in my head thinking about what shot I should hit and where I should put it, and just kind of going with that flow state. And that's something that I think a lot of people get tight in tournaments. I was going to say, I bet people relate. Yes.
I bet people relate. And the qualifier is kind of a big deal because you paid a lot of money, and there's no backdraw. So when you're done, you're done.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. It's, win a couple of matches and you can get into the main draw, or you lose and you're done. You paid, I don't even know how much it was, probably $250, close to $300 just for the pro qualifier. I think it's $100 registration and then $150 or so for the pro qualifier. So a lot of pressure, and something that I want to work on is just that mental game, just trying to play loose.
You showed up tight. Do you feel like you were nervous, and if so, why? Why were you nervous or tight?
Yeah, I think a couple of reasons. I was playing with the new Joola Perseus Pro 4. Not that it's a bad paddle, it's just different than what I typically go for.
Yeah, you had to have a
Had to have a
UPA
UPA,
paddle.
paddle.
That limits what you can use.
It does. Yeah. And so I tried a few UPA paddles, and that one was the one that I kind of landed on. It's the one that I felt the most comfortable with of the UPA paddles, but still not my go-to type paddle. It's got a little too much juice, a little too much power and pop for me.
A little harder to take big swings and stuff like you like to do, right? Okay.
Yep. So, you know, that made me a little tight, just having that, you know, newer paddle that I usually wouldn't go for. And then the other is, like you mentioned, there's just the stakes are pretty high. You paid a lot of money, and it's win or go home. And just, you know, a lot of pressure. Yeah. So something that I just need to work on. Just need to drill more. Need to, I don't know, find ways to put myself in more of like a tournament atmosphere on a regular basis versus just drilling and going to play rec where you're relaxed the whole time and can play well. Yeah.
Do you feel like there was an expectation on you to do well?
I think so. Yeah. Like for me and Andrew, especially, I feel like there was an expectation for us to at least win one of the matches, you know, like, and, I think the thought was there that we had a decent shot of qualifying.
Oh, I think there was. Yeah.
I mean, the team we lost to did end up qualifying, so that made me feel a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think there was some slight pressure put on by myself and just thinking in general that, you know, me and him on paper should do really well. Yeah.
A stereotypical left-sided player, and then a stereotypical kind of like a right-sided player with a lot of tools, which is you. Yeah. So yeah, do you think there was any pressure on you to perform well for your partner?
I didn't really get that from him. Like, I knew he wanted to qualify, and you know, he's a very good player, and he is the type of player that is the caliber that could qualify. So yeah, when I came out tight and started playing a little defensive and missing some dinks high, that kind of adds to it. You know, like I don't want to let my partner down, who's a great player. So you just kind of get in your head, get in that spiral of I should be playing better, and then you end up playing worse because you're thinking you should play better, and it's all a mind game.
It is. Mm-hmm. You know, for context, Andrew also played 5-0 men's doubles. Yep. And he won. They won gold. Do you think that's because he had a better partner?
You're going to have me taking shots at Jimmy right now?
Do you think that it was because he was with Jimmy or because it was easier?
Jimmy was... I didn't go to 5-0. I didn't watch the 5-0 matches. From what little bit I did catch on stream, Jimmy looked to be playing really well. Better than I was playing on Pro Qualifier Day. I think the competition was a little lower as well in the 5-0 division versus a Pro Qualifier division.
Both brackets, even the teams that went 2-0 right away were really good. Mm-hmm. That's what I'll say. Yeah. Whoever they are, they were really good. Even if they went times, even if they went 2-0 or no 0-2 right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And Jimmy was playing good. I watched them. They played great.
Yeah. Jimmy is a beast on the right.
He is.
Although me and my partner Matthew took Andrew and Jimmy out in the money ball.
Oh yeah, that's true. I watched that one as well.
They won 5-0 but I took them out in the money ball.
What a musical chairs on who should be with who. That's and because you played the left then.
I played the left because I was playing with a lefty. Yeah.
Okay, so you need to work on being more loose and playing like you're having fun. Yep. Right.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
The court surface was not my favorite. It's not pickle roll courts.
That's genuinely true. Yeah.
It's some other company, but they had the rollout courts instead of resurfacing the actual courts. And the ball stayed just a smidge lower than what you're expecting.
Yeah, even especially on slices. Really cut. Yeah, because this was the same tournament that Annalie Waters pulled out of singles. Yep. Did Ben pull out of singles, I think?
I don't know if Ben pulled out or if he was ever slated to play.
Yeah. People were pulling out of singles because of the courts.
Yes, there was a lot of lucky losers coming from Pro Qualifier singles that got into the main draw because so many of the main draw players pulled out. And it was, Annalie, for sure, she posted that it was because of the surface and that it was, I think she twisted her ankle on a similar surface at another event a few months ago. So it wasn't my favorite surface, but
Okay, so
everybody had to play on it. So like, I'm not saying that's
first
the reason.
Excuse it was bad cords. No. First excuse was it was a new paddle.
Yeah.
Second excuse was it was bad cords. Okay. Anything else?
Nothing else I can think of that lets me shirk responsibility for losing.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. As far as my takeaways, I genuinely do think it's hard for me to come up with real takeaways because we just couldn't get anything going. And it's not my partner's fault. It's not my fault. I'll say it was just tough. I think kind of what you were saying. I think just being in tournament mindset and like, what does that mean? Like, should it be a different mindset than rec play? I definitely noticed myself playing better. One, when I had a few White Claws, but also like when I just like had fun, you know, if you can get to the point where you're having fun at tournaments and it's not like, this is the once yearly PPA in North Carolina and I've got to freaking do good. Like when I was having fun and I didn't like care a ton, that's when I was doing better. And that's kind of common sense. But also it makes me wonder, I did notice there was a huge difference playing against people who had paddle techs and the new YOLOs versus anything else. The power is, we always ended up going to the other guy. So it does make me wonder, like, do I want to be that weapon or should I keep going with what I'm going with?
I know. That is a question that I ask myself too. And like every time I try one of the super, I don't feel like anything's super hot anymore now that we've kind of got a little bit of a handle on the power paddles. But anything that's on the top end of that power, I always want to play with it, but I never play well with it. Is the thing. Especially if you get tight.
Yeah, because the margin for error is so slow.
Yeah.
So low, yeah.
That makes it so much harder to play with. Like, it's already a difficult paddle to play with if it's on the top end of power or pop. You add in tournament tightness, and it makes it, another level of difficult to control.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Taylor was saying, you shouldn't try to, you want your worst day to be good, so that, because when you show up to a tournament, it's almost never going to be your best day. Yeah. So you want to drill and play so that like your worst day is pretty good, or like your average day is still pretty good.
Where your floor is pretty high, you know? Yeah.
If I have a good day with the power paddle, that doesn't mean that that's what I should be playing with. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on then. I've seen you play with several paddles, even in tournaments, Brent. Tell me, what paddle? Let's do some rounds. We're doing rounds as somebody said we should title it.
Oh yeah.
What paddle are you maining these days?
So admittedly, I have not played a ton since the PPA. Just from my kid being sick, me being sick, just life and work being super busy.
Rebounding from tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, rebounding from just mentally wrecking myself over not playing well. But I actually started the Moneyball day with the 11.624 𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏 power paddle. Yeah. That's what I started with.
I saw that.
And I thought, I was like, you know what? I think I can main this paddle. I think I can do it. Didn't go so hot the first half of the day of Moneyball. Switched it out for my trusty Pickleball Apes Pulse S. Immediately started playing better. I think it was just in my head, that's just my safety blanket, my blanket.
That's your consistent one.
It is. It's my consistent one, where I know pretty much exactly, all right, if I swing this hard, this is where the ball is going to go. This is how high it's going to go over the net. And when, you're constantly testing new paddles and changing out, you can't really develop that relationship with the paddle. You need weeks and months of just one paddle to develop that that sense and that feel, especially when you get in a tournament atmosphere where you're trying to keep the ball down and the margins are so low. So I switched over to the Pulse S, played a lot better with the Pulse S. And I'm going to say that's my main right now.
I thought you would.
I'm still on the look.
Wow.
I'm still looking for other things, I have the Pulse X that is still in my bag that I want to hit with a little bit more. And I tried out some of the other offerings from Joola, the Agassis, solid paddles, but
I'm just not the same though.
I'm just digging my Pulse still, man. I feel so boring. I feel so monogamous.
No, I've got some today that we'll talk about that I think is going to give that a run for its money. I'll tell you why when we get there.
Okay, I'm excited.
I'm still using the. I can't remember if last time we talked if I was using the unMarked Alpha as my main.
You were a fan. I don't know if it was your main or not.
Oh yeah, I have one here. Yeah, so I'm still using the unMarked Alpha. Which,
I am also a fan of the unMarked Alpha.
This is great. Yeah, it's a nice dwell time, and after like the first couple of times playing with it too, it still loosened up a little bit.
Okay.
So it had like really good dwell time to begin with, but then it became just a little bit more powerful, but not like a break-in like a Gen 3 type break-in, but still feels good. Like the grit's holding up really well. I just like today I was using the Joola Hyperion, and I was drilling with Damas, and it just wasn't quite there, and I was like just to see. I switched back to the unMarked, and I was like, yep, yeah, that's for sure it.
Did it just feel more controllable, or the feel itself was what you were looking for?
Yeah, I think it's a feel thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good balance of dwell time plus release and power, but still controllable. And it's probably a little bit of time too that I don't have on the Hyperion Pro 4. And plus, I think it needs to be broken in, but we'll get there when we talk a little bit about that today. But it was a little more stiff than what I was used to, so. I just think I'm dialed with the unMarked right now.
Yeah.
Which does lead pretty well into our updates too, because the unMarked Alpha, which is this, is essentially no more, for better or worse. But that doesn't mean this paddle is going away. The update is this was kind of an experiment battle. Mm-hmm. They had a limited release, trying to see what people thought, and everybody's been for the most part, has been pretty positive with their response.
Solid paddle.
Yeah, so they actually stopped their production at the factory, and they're moving into their main line, and they're going to call it the Mark II R2, something like that. Okay. Yeah, and they're going to put some it's going to be the same paddle, but they're going to put some designs and pictures and stuff on it, which makes sense because
it's no longer going to be unMarked.
Yeah, it's going to be marked.
It's going to have some graphics and whatnot.
That's
on it
correct.
Now? Okay.
Yeah, and when he said that, he's like, "Oh, it's the predecessor for the Mark II," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense."
I mean, it does. Fits in with their existing product line, just as a successor.
Yeah, larger cell size. Yeah, it's just kind of like a little bit of a different step. So, so that's on the horizon. It's now been what? How many months have we had our SQAIRZ shoes now, as far as other updates?
Oh,
it's been at least a couple of months.
At least right? 2.
Yeah, so
maybe 3.
Have you been using them?
So
over this time,
little update on that. I really like those shoes. Mm-hmm. My foot is just a little too narrow.
Yeah,
the toe box itself on the SQAIRZ is a little wider on purpose and by design, and I think that works for most people that have normal to even wide feet.
Yeah, for sure.
But mine are pretty narrow. And so what was happening was, even with the different like insoles, my like toe area and forefoot was sliding around. So that was making me feel a little unsteady. So I had some other shoes in reserve that I bought myself. Like even before SQAIRZ came, I had bought some of the _𝒂𝒊𝒏 𝑷𝒂𝒅𝒅𝒍𝒆𝒔
Yep. I saw you wearing those ones.
Yeah. And God, what is the other one that I've been wearing? Oh, the Mizuno Wave and Force Tour 2.
Yeah.
What a mouthful. And I think those are more set up for my more narrow foot. So I think for the masses, the SQAIRZ is a great pickleball shoe. It just doesn't quite work for my
particularly narrow foot.
My particularly narrow foot. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying them. I probably have a normal width foot. I'd say it's not narrow, it's not wide. Mm-hmm. My big thing, so first off, they're very comfy, lots of room. I do love the laces. They've got the little rubber, kind of small knobs on the laces, the lock lace type thing. And I love the look of them. My big thing with any shoe is they always wear on the big toe. Where did I put those? And that's kind of what these are doing now. We're about 2 months in. I don't know if you can see like on the camera, but they are starting. So they've wore through the outer blue, kind of more rubbery part of the shoe. And they're down to like the less, meant to make contact white part. So if I were to keep wearing these, they'll probably wear straight through.
Yeah, it looks like it. And you're especially, you have a big toe drag when you're going from side to side.
Yes, I do. Yeah. So like, and that's okay, I guess. every single shoe I've ever had, that's the point they'll wear out is the big toe, right? And I had somebody that bought these shoes, Trish, our friend from Asheville, bought them, and after 2 months she sent me a picture of her shoes, and they'd wore down a little bit on the outsole, and she was like, here's just kind of an update. And I was like, oh, yeah. She hadn't worn to the white part yet, but she also didn't know that they have the single replacement warranty on the outsole. So I was like, hey, just making sure you know, like, you get another pair, right? She's like, oh, I actually didn't know that. Nice. So she sent the picture in. I'll put it on screen now. It's not crazy bad, but most of the...
it's just a little...
you've seen the picture.
Pretty much smooth on the toe area.
Yeah, it's not showing white, but she sent the picture in. She's like, hey, here's my shoes after 2 months. They gave her a code, Pickleball Central did, for another pair.
So all she had to do was just send a picture in, and they gave her the code?
Yep, that's right. She was like, they're like, yep, that meets our criteria. Even though on the website it specifies it has to wear all the way through, as if like it has to be a complete hole. They filled it with that. So she was very happy after that. So most of the time my shoes last about a couple of months or so. Like I was wearing the Wilson Rush 4s or something before. They're like $100. And these are like $140, but you can get 2 of them when they wear out or whatever. So that's kind of where we're at. Yeah. They don't have extra durability on the sole compared to another shoe, but when they wear out on the outsole, you can get a new pair. And mine lasted about 2 months. So that's what we got on that.
So it's just kind of average for your typical wear on shoes, right?
Yep. Durability is not anything special. And then I'll second your point. We went into a dream breaker that week.
Singles especially, your foot slides a little bit.
It's not a good, unless you have wide feet, it's not a good single shoe. It's a great double shoe. My feet are breathing, they're comfy, whatever. But yeah, if I got to take really hard cuts, there's a lot of room. And that's how they're designed. So, that's what we have for our updates there. Yeah.
Just takeaway is just don't play singles, because singles, why would you do that?
Why would you play doubles? Singles? Should we get into some paddles?
Sure.
So let's start at the top. We've got 5 new paddles by GRUVN. These are their newest budget line. Oh, we'll dig them out of our pile here. So these are the CRUZN line.
GRUVN CRUZN.
GRUVN CRUZN. So worth noting. So GRUVN already has previous lines named Movin', which is their thermoformed carbon fiber paddles, and they've got the GRUVN Laser series, which is their Kevlar hybrid series. And now, and then previously they had the Cruz and the Raw, which are being replaced by the CRUZNs. So they'll have 3 lines. So, and they've got them all in different shapes. So we've got the CRUZN 16H here, hybrid shaped. HD, which is what I would say is also hybrid shaped based on measurements, just got a more round top. They've got them in every shape. Yeah. Elongateds with different, length handles and whatever. And then they've got the S, the GRUVN CRUZN 16S, so 16 millimeters thick. S as in standard shaped. So there's 5. We've played a bit with these. And funny enough, I don't know if you know this, Brent, if you've seen this yet or not, but one of these paddles did not pass the PB core. These are just...
What?
Yeah, these are Gen 1 budget paddles. Right now, they're $99. They're active on the website, except for the HD, which failed PB core. Was over the mark for 0.44 or whatever it is, 0.45.
That is very hard to believe.
Yeah.
From my... I mean, I hit the elongated 16X and the 16 HD, and did not think either of those would come remotely close to failing a PB core.
Yeah, very silly. Very silly. Wow. I was talking with somebody earlier. The PB core, it's certainly, everyone knows by now, or you should, that it's very flawed. It doesn't test power, and it doesn't even test pop. It tests, in my opinion, I think it tests absorption. Like how well does this ball absorb, or this paddle absorb and then recoil? Yeah. It's just so silly. Because based off of my experience with these paddles, the pop isn't high. It's not non-existent, right? But it's not high. These are very control-oriented paddles. All the shapes.
That's what my notes have right here. Like even so, the 16X, which is the elongated, and the 16HD, which is the hybrid arrow curve top, which is what you were just talking about. That failed PB core, right?
Yeah.
Like I have notes that says. The elongated is control oriented, and the HD was less power and pop than the elongated.
Of course,
which is like,
this is so silly, so silly. So PB core is just bonkers. Wow. But overall, for their price, what'd you think of these paddles?
Yeah, I think at that $99 price, they're decent.
Yes.
I remember testing them the day of, and I was very underwhelmed by the power on them, and the pop, which makes me so flabbergasted that one of these failed PP core. My notes were that I liked the elongated more, the 16X, I believe, because it had a little bit more plow through power for me. Yeah. With the 16 HD, which is the hybrid, it didn't have enough plow through for me on that. I had to swing pretty hard just to get a serve return past, the kitchen line with a decent amount of pace on it. And I didn't put any weight on them, but I thought that they could definitely benefit from weight just for the increase in like plow through power.
Definitely.
I didn't think that the stability was anything bad. Like, I don't think they needed weight for increased stability per se, but I think they really needed weight for that increased power and pop that I was not getting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually think the opposite in terms of like, I do think they need weight for sweet spot size and stability. I don't think the sweet spot's bad, but I think it's kind of typical of like a Gen 1 paddle. It's the sweet spots aren't huge. They're okay. I think they're awesome to control, very control oriented. Yeah. And I mean, like, if you think of it in that kind of a terms, I wasn't thinking, oh, they need weight for power. But my one thing was they need weight for sweet spot. Because if you hit in the middle, they feel really nice. They've got a nice feel to them. But if you go off center, they're they have more of a steep cutoff. They don't have the wrapped edges with the foam around or anything like that. I was playing with you that day that you, man, for whatever reason, you were not jiving with those paddles. You were hitting, there were some clunks.
Yes. Some clunks. Yeah. And I think that goes back to, you kind of jogged my memory that you're right. I think the sweet spot was pretty. It was small. It was on the smaller side, right? And I think I hit a few off center that you could hear audibly. It was a clunk, and was not a very nice feedback to my arm there.
The nice thing about them, at least though, and one of the reasons for their even existence is so the predecessors, the Cruz models, they were meant to kind of be more of the budget control paddles, but they ended up being heavier, and they actually had a decent amount of power. Okay. But they were more heavy. I think, so the swing weights on these are, sub 110 for the S model, and then in the teens for the hybrids. And even the 16E, the swing weight was 114, so it's very low. The 16X was 118. So there's a little bit of room to add weight if you need it, and at least that's there.
Yeah.
But you also, I remember you saying you didn't like the grip, but I really like the grip that GRUVN uses.
I don't. Where?
Oh, yeah, I put them on the ground.
Okay.
But they use this kind of like corrugated, holes, rubbery grip. Is it the grip or the handle you don't like?
It's the grip. So there's something about the feel of it that I don't like, and you like it.
Man, I love it. I love that grip.
It's odd. I think it is like on the tacky side too, which I play with dry grips that aren't very tacky. But there's something about the perforated holes in it. It just feels weird in my hand. Yeah. It might just be a me thing, I don't know, but it's not the handle. It's definitely the actual grip that's being used. Yeah, I think coming from tennis, there's nothing like you always use a solid wrapped over grip. So I never played with anything like this, so it just feels very foreign to my hand.
I just like it. I feel like my hand can breathe in there, and sometimes I don't even use overgrips on this. But I'll say too though that, since it is Gen 1, it's not bad, but you can feel kind of the ridges on the end of the handle. So if that really bothers you, that might not be a thing, but it's definitely not one of the worst, of the handles. But all in all, it's going to be like, I don't know how tariffs will affect the price.
That's true.
So we'll stand by on that. But right now, it's a sub $100 paddle. What do you think? Is it worth $95, let's say, or like 10% off? It's $90.
Yeah.
Is it worth $90 to you?
If you're looking for a control-oriented paddle and you don't need a ton of extra power and pop, and you don't mind adding a little bit of weight, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea, but control paddles generally aren't my cup of tea. And Gen 1, usually isn't for me either. I like Gen 2 or some foam enhancements on the paddle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for $90, it's a solid.
Yeah, I think
solid
for the
paddle
right person
at that price point.
I think for the right person, yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you want power, it's not power, and even all cord, it might be a little bit low on power, and you're going to need to add some weight. But I don't think it's bad for 90. But
Yeah.
you know, it's got to be what you want.
Yes.
If you want the power, if you want the plow through, like you're saying, or and the pop, they're definitely more control oriented. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. We also have this has been here for a long time. We've been meaning to cover this for a while. We've got the Roore paddle.
It's a very interesting looking paddle.
Yeah. So it's not unique in the sense that it's like a unique shape or anything. There's a pretty typical shape for a hybrid paddle, but it's got kind of a geometric design. It's
like a topographic map.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's very textured. It's got that, titanium surface, and it's very, very gritty. And we put a little bit of time on this. I'll go first. I'll say that there are two really big. Okay, I'll say there are three really big, strong. Okay, four. Okay, the strong points keep going. The first off is price. So this is well under $100. I forget the exact price, honestly. Last time I looked. It's like $70 or $80 or something. I'll put it on the screen. I'll look it up. Plus discounts. And it's very gritty. So the texture is good. Spin was great. Sweet spot's good.
Yeah.
Sweet spot is very nice, and control is really high. I really liked the way that this feels. Kadink, drop, hit things with shape very well. For a hybrid shape paddle, let's see, the swing weight was 119. So it's on the heavier side. If you felt that, would you say... Does it feel like 119 swing weight to you?
Oh, yours feels heavier than mine.
Is mine heavier?
It feels heavier than I remember, for sure.
Yeah, maybe that's why it felt nice.
I didn't make any notes of it, like, feeling like heavy for a hybrid.
I don't think it felt heavy like when I used it, but then when I saw 119, I'm like, well, maybe I'll check. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But the balance point, I didn't check the balance point. Maybe it's a little lower on the balance point or something, but it does have a flare. Yeah. So it gets wider up towards the top there. But yeah, I really like this paddle. Tell me what you thought about it.
I didn't mind it at all. So like I hit that one right before I hit the GRUVN is it CRUZN?
CRUZN, yeah, with an N, yeah.
I hit that one right before I hit the CRUZN, and then was kind of like pleasantly surprised with it. And then you told me how much it was. I was like, I think it's like $70-$80.
Yeah, very good value for the price, yeah.
It is, I agree, more on the control-oriented side. I thought it felt to me like it had a little bit more juice than the CRUZNs, at least for their hybrid offerings. It needed some weight for me, at least the one that I hit. Maybe mine was a little lighter than yours. I think more for like plow through, because the stability on that one was better than the CRUZNs. That one felt a little softer to me. It felt less feedback to me. The sweet spot felt a little bigger compared to the CRUZNs.
Sweet spot was very nice. Yeah, it was a pleasant feel.
I didn't mind that paddle at all. I needed more juice out of it. I needed more plow through and more pop, but I thought it felt nice. And for that price point, that's
super good.
That's a really nice paddle.
I think that's something if you have somebody that likes anything geographic. If you think you have somebody that likes the look of that paddle, man, it's not unique in its shape or even construction, but dang, it feels good. It plays really well. It's not a power paddle. I'd say like an intermediate to beginnerish level power paddle. If you're advanced and you want the power and the pop, probably not it, but
right.
It's kind of right there along the paddles that I would play well with, really.
Is that a different construction or generation than the CRUZN? Do you know?
Yeah. So this is Gen 2. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's thermoformed, and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong because it's been a little bit since.
Maybe that is why it felt a little better to me too. Yeah. Like the sweet spot did feel a little more expanded, and it felt like I had a little more juice to it. Yeah,
this was one of my favorite paddles of all the paddles we have today, particularly with the price. So you can't really go too wrong there. No. It's not. You look at it and you're like, oh, it's just kind of another, hybrid shape.
Another
paddle.
basic
it's the same
hybrid,
as the Friday paddles or like. Like the Invader, any of the other hybrids we got on the wall here, but it feels and plays nice, and it's got a nice price. So
yeah, absolutely.
They know what they have and looks good. So. Okay, let's do a quick one of this. This isn't new to the market per se, but they did send us one of the Gearbox sent us the Pro Ultimate Power. This is the solution to the Pro Power Elongated getting delisted. There's a lot of word salad almost going on with Gearbox. Oh shoot! So this one, you'll see this one's purple. It's got the purple lettering. It's 14 millimeters thick, as opposed to the Pro Ultimate Elongated. That's the 16 millimeter version, and it's very heavy. This one is also. Have you felt this? Tell me, do you feel like that's heavy or not?
Yeah, that feels
it's
like
it's
heavy. Got a pretty good swing weight.
Yeah, so the swing weight of this, guess, Brent. Guess what the swing weight of that is. Oh, God.
I'm like 0 for 10 on
Brent
guessing
is,
swing weights.
I won't make you go against me because I know the answer
This feels like especially heavy to me, so I'm going to say like 123.
Whoa, 123 is especially heavy for you?
For me.
Damn, Brent. Okay, well, it's 125, so
okay.
It is particularly heavy.
Well, it's I'm guessing 123 without any added weight, and I almost always put weight on my paddles. So 123 stock, or my guess of 123 stock.
Yeah, it's just
seems heavy.
It's just like on Brent's, whatever screen that displays what the reading is, it just says hi.
Yeah.
It's like above what we can read.
Can't add any weight.
Yeah, it's like too much. It's like broke the meter.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what the PPE was, though, too. This, in my opinion, not broken in, is a duplicate of the PPE. And I think it was all drive, no drop. I almost said no drive, no drop. It was all drive, no drop that actually had Raphael on, the owner of Gearbox, to interview, and he explained a little bit of the changes that they made in the Pro Ultimate Power compared to the PPE. And essentially, it just comes down to the core is all in all like the same design, but the orientation in which those ribbed fibers. So this is a core from. I actually think this is.
Of course, you have one.
This is the Pro Ultimate Elongated, so you can see if that shows up well. You've got your ribs that run, vertically up the paddle. Changing the thickness of those ribs, the amount of time you keep them under heat for the foam expansion, the thickness of the, carbon fiber in the rib spaces. All that sort of thing is the stuff they changed with the Pro Ultimate Power. So it feels, when you play with it, just like the PPE before it breaks in.
Okay.
I haven't played with it long enough to see where the break-in stops. I hear there's a little bit of one, but to my knowledge, I don't think it gets as hot as the PPE. So think PPE after like a couple of sessions, a few sessions or so, and that's what you're getting here. I actually think I remember you telling me when you went to Virginia.
Yeah, I was
one
about
of the
to say
teams
that,
you've played against this paddle, right? Did it feel? Tell me how it felt to be on the other side of this paddle.
So played against two guys with Gearbox paddles. I think one of them at least is sponsored. I'm not sure about the other, but I felt it didn't feel like playing against a broken in PPE.
Yeah.
So the guys obviously have been playing with it for a little bit, so like it's had its break in, I would assume, and the ball comes off hot, but it doesn't feel overpowering. Like it doesn't feel like I'm going against a Ripple or a broken in PPE. It feels hot, yes, but fair, I guess.
Sure.
is how I could describe it.
Yeah, that's a good way of characterizing it.
Yeah.
For people who haven't used the PPE before, to know how this feels, very exponential, I think, power to effort correlation ratio. So like you put 25% effort in, you'll get 25% power. But if you put 50% effort in, you get maybe 60% or 70% power. So it's a bit exponential. The sweet spots aren't huge, so they need a bit of weight for stabilization, I think. You have to be able to wield a more heavy feeling paddle. Because with a swing weight of 125, you're already up there. Then it's going to need some weight. So if you're a person who has like tennis elbow, or if you like lighter paddles, not for you. The Integra, which is like the shorter shape of this, might be a better option if you want that sort of thing. But it's the new PPE.
Yeah, I will say the round before I played the guy with this new Pro Ultimate Power. The round before that, I played a guy with an actual PPE that was broken in, and there I could tell a difference in the ball, especially at the kitchen. Like that's where I could tell the difference between all those like really hot foam enhanced paddles, the Ripple, the Mod, the PPE broken in. It's at the kitchen line when they just do this number, and the ball is just in your chest before you can react. I felt that way against the PPE when I was playing. We ended up beating that team, and then played the guy playing with the Pro Ultimate Power, and it didn't feel as hot.
Your reaction time was a little bit better. Yeah.
We got wrecked by that team, but
yes, you did. I wasn't going to say that, but you did.
But
power is not everything.
Power is
folks.
not everything. Nope. I didn't feel like it was unfair power. They just wrecked us fair and square.
Yes, you did. Yeah, I think that's accurate, and I think that's what people could expect here. We also have the GX2 models. I've already released a review of these, but you've tried these as well.
Yeah.
There's two shapes that are out, the elongated and Integra. I think the Integra might be a hair shorter, but
it's really close.
It's very close.
Yeah.
And they're both like 7 point something, not quite 7.5 inches wide. They're like 7.35 to 7.4 right there. This one here is the Integra XL. There's also the third model, which is the Hyper, that I think last time I checked was going to release in either May or June. So that one's coming. Tell me what you thought of these, Brent.
I hadn't had a ton of time on any Gearbox paddles. I had the PPE a couple times. It really wasn't for me. But these, the GX2 here with the edge guard, I do prefer a paddle that has an edge guard. I'm not a huge fan of edgeless paddles. But I would say pleasantly surprised with that one. It wasn't overpowering, or, it wasn't too hot, which I've just come to think about when I think of Gearbox. That's probably unfair to Gearbox, sorry, but that's just what I think of. I think of a PPE, or I think of something that just is just going to rocket the ball. And the GX2 isn't quite that, but it does have this like springy pop.
It does
to it.
Springy
which
is a good way.
I'm not a fan of, because I use too much wrist, and springy pop just sends balls sailing for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wrote down in my notes was springy pop, not a ton of feedback. It feels very soft and muted when you hit it.
Yeah.
And it's got a decent amount of power and spin. I thought overall it was probably, on the day we were testing those paddles, between the Gearbox, the Roore, the GRUVNs, that was probably my favorite of the day.
Interesting.
It's not something that I could main, because I just can't control that springy pop.
Yeah.
But it felt like almost like a more poppy Olympus to me off the face.
Interesting.
Which it just doesn't mesh
haven't
well
heard that before.
with my game.
Yeah, definitely the big takeaway for me was like the first time I hit it is like, one, it feels soft. And two, because they're using, I think, a woven 3K carbon fiber, if I'm remembering right, a softer carbon fiber on the surface. And then, it is like it's all foam and rib channels in there. So you feel, what you do feel soft, but you don't feel vibrations. You don't feel anything coming to your hand.
Yeah.
So as far as like dialing in where the sweet spot is, stuff like that can be a little harder. But if you like that kind of a feel, it's almost the closest I can like describe it to is like true foamy. Kind of true foamy, but it's still different. Yeah. The true foam still has a little bit of like an activation layer almost with that fiberglass in there. Like you can feel some of it. This is like, you just don't feel it. So if you don't like vibrations and you want power, and you want some springiness, like I think it feels pleasant, and that's going to be the paddle for you. It is expensive. This is the first paddle that Gearbox, to my knowledge, has released that uses discount codes. So you can take 10% off. I think it's like $225 or something, if I remember right after. So whereas the other ones are $275, they're still expensive. Still expensive. I would say it would be worth it for people who like the things we already described, but also are hoping and buying into the fact that there's no polypropylene in the core, so the durability is likely going to be much higher. If foam does what foam does.
Theoretically. Yeah.
But otherwise, it was interesting. I said this in my review, but my Integra was heavier than my elongated version. I talked to Raphael about it, and he's like, there's a range, and I guess the ranges kind of overlap. They were still both under 120, but it was just kind of funny. I had to run that a few times.
I guess, you're right. Like the feel, the very low feedback is very true foamy feeling, but I didn't get the springy pop on a true foam. Like the one that I think of always comes to mind for me when I think of springy pop is the Olympus, and that's just what's stuck in my head. And so that's what I was feeling. Like it was more that like that springy pop that I'm not a fan of, that doesn't work for me. It's more of that, like it just kind of flies off. It kind of sinks in and just flies off the face. That just, not not for me, but I think it was my favorite of the day of the paddles that we played with.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We also got we got a couple of Joola paddles. So this one, the 14 millimeter Agassi. So I got the 16 from Joola. They sent me that one with the original ones. And then Daniel Hawk from the Hawk Shop sent us the 14 millimeter version, which I've always said, and I'll say again, probably the best way to get any Joola paddle at this point is to go through a distributor, because Joola doesn't offer discount codes. I'll link Daniel below, since he sent us this paddle. And if you tell him, we sent you from PB Med, he'll give you a discount, added for viewing or whatever. But we got to play with the 14 millimeter. I really like this. And I see a lot of people around here who also really like this, surprisingly. And you've had it most recently. What do you think of that one, Brent?
Yeah, so I had it and the 16 millimeter, and I hit for a couple of hours with both, and I was switching back and forth, a little bit on the ball machine, a little bit of drilling. And I think, the 16 just feels better to me in the sense that it feels more plush, more sink in feel.
Yeah, for sure.
My drops felt a little better with the 16. The 14 definitely felt good when I was countering or at the net with that pop, but the drops didn't feel quite as good to me. Any kind of the touch shots just didn't quite feel as good to me as I was used to with more of a 16 millimeter core. And I think I'm just like a 16 millimeter guy,
you definitely
right?
are.
Like the Franklin C45 when it
say,
came out, that was the only exception.
Me too, though. Yeah, like I can't remember. It's rare that I'm like, the 14.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
And the C45 was one of the exceptions.
It was.
Other than that, I almost always steer 16.
Same. I enjoy more of that plush sink-in feel that is harder to come by with a 14 millimeter paddle. So I enjoyed the 14. It just didn't quite have the feel that I was looking for. Yeah,
it's quite different from the 16 Pulse S.
Yes, and I like more of the plow through on the 16 versus the 14 as well.
Plow through is definitely higher with the weight. It's funny because the Joolas in particular, some paddle series between the 14 and 16 millimeter differences, like the difference in dwell time and pop and whatever is not that, it's there.
Yeah.
But I think it's big in the Joolas for whatever reason. Like the 16s all have a pretty significantly higher dwell time. And plow through power, it's just like when I hit with the 14s, the Agassi included, when it comes off the face, it comes off much quicker. And then when I play with the 16, it sinks in a lot.
Yeah.
So I have to really change my launch angle to get it where I wanted to be. But I actually really I can't decide if I like the 16 or 14 better, but I did really like the Agassi 14. The nice thing about it, again, just like the 16, I really do like
I do
face
too.
shape.
I do too.
It's really good. It kind of like
it's functional.
notches right there. Yeah, it's very functional. Like it's so comfortable to hold right there. And I think so this is also elongated, just like the Pro 4s. If I were to like put them in a line, I think the Perseus Pro 4 is like here in terms of pop and like maybe difficult to control, and then the 16 millimeter Perseus Pro 4 is on the heavier side. It's got the highest dwell time, and then the 14 and 16 Agassi are kind of in the middle. So if the 14 is going to be too poppy for people, but you still want elongated, I think the 14 Agassi is good. But if you don't like the heaviness of the Perseus 16 Pro 4, then like the 16 Agassi is right there. So it kind of exists on that spectrum there.
It does, yeah, and that's one thing that I thought would draw me into the Agassis is they have. If you compare 16 to 16 Agassi versus the Perseus Pro 4, it has just a smidge less power and pop than the Perseus Pro 4.
It does.
Which that was one of my main complaints of the Perseus Pro 4 was that it just had a little bit too much for me. Yeah. So I thought that would draw me into the Agassi. And for whatever reason, I still decided to go with my Pulse S. I still feel the most comfortable with that. And maybe, if I just get better and drill more, that I can actually use a power paddle one day. If I start playing loose,
working on your hit game,
and actually get good at pickleball, one day I can use a damn power paddle. But that is not today.
Keep dreaming, Brent.
But like some people have said, like they don't like the way these look, and from the get go, I have been a fan of the way they look.
I said that.
You said you said
I did not like the way they looked.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the way they look, and
it's growing on me.
And they're so functional. Like that two-handed grip, it just kind of locks it in there for you.
Yeah, the shape of that face was like, whoa, that feels like so good.
Yep.
With two hands. So that really kind of bumped me, and maybe that's why the look is growing on me. Because the feel feels good.
Yeah.
Holding on to it.
I have the Hyperion. I really want to hit that.
Yeah, we just got those.
And see how it compares to the 16 Agassi, because that's an elongated arrow curve paddle. This is an elongated arrow curve with a slightly different shape.
Yeah, it's definitely one of a kind.
Just to see what the difference is there, and
that'll be a good comparison.
Yeah,
between those. So I'll start this and say that I'm going to say everything I know about this paddle. This is the paddle. So this is the Pickleball Apes Harmony. I have the V shape. So this current one here, this is like a prototype model, a concept paddle, which is actually very nearing production. I think it's my understanding that the production level models of this are going to have the same construction. I don't know if there's any tweaks. I'll have to confirm with Ivan, but the look is just going to be a little bit different, like as far as the cosmetics. But this is the next thing that Pickleball Apes is coming out with, and this may make you sad, but I have good news though, that I think it's going to be replacing the Pulse series.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so they're not gonna they're gonna stop making the Pulse, which makes sense. The Pulse has a long break-in, still has a break-in, and then the paddle changes.
Yeah.
And so people are like kind of either chasing the break-in or they don't want the break-in, but then eventually the break-in happens even with the reinforcements. So we have our new Harmony models. You haven't hit these yet.
No, right? Other than just dinking a few times with them.
I haven't played a ton. I've played maybe 4 or so sessions with it. So I like it a lot. And there's some real big benefits to the Harmony series versus the Pulse that, will be notable. They're not as heavy, so they're lighter, first off. So this, the swing weight of this was 109 versus my other, Pulse V was 112, somewhere in the 113 ranges. So I think this is going to be the construction of this, which I don't know the exactness of, and Ivan's being kind of a secret snake about it. He's just doing his his secret thing about it. It's Gen 3 of some kind, so it's foam enhanced in some way. But I think it's going to really benefit the longer shapes, particularly the X model, like the elongateds, because the Pulse X is kind of on the heavier side. Yeah, I can't remember what our swing weight was when I guessed correct and you didn't guess correct, but it's in the right around 120,
121,
low 120s.
122.
Yeah, and that's without adding weight.
Anything.
So it doesn't really have a ton of room to add weight. These are going to, because they'll be lighter. They don't have quite the dwell time that the Pulse has, at least when they're new feeling. I don't know totally what the break-in is, if there is one. They're a little more poppy. So they come off a little bit faster. The launch angle is just a little bit lower because the dwell time is a little bit less. So I did have to adjust that, playing with it. Even going from the unMarked, which I was using before, to this, the launch angle was a little bit lower. But man, it was fast and it was poppy. The sweet spot's still really good. It's not quite as good as the Pulse V, which has, 3 wings of foam.
And we're talking a broken in Pulse V? What are you comparing?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. Either.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think the sweet spot on the Pulse V in particular is arguably the best that there is in any paddle.
Yeah, it's very
maybe
good.
In my opinion, the True Foam Genesis 2, or there might be some other in the race, but the Pulse V for sure is in an elite category. Broken in or not, but it gets better when it's broken. Part of the problem / benefit. I don't know. Anyways, it's still good, but it's not quite that good. But it has much more room for weight. I ended up adding weight just above the 3 and 9 positions on this one to bring the sweet spot up a little bit, stability and power. But this is gonna be sweet. All the good things of the Pulse V, just a little less dwell time, a little more pop, and lighter, faster. People are really going to like this. I think you're going to like this in the X shape in particular, because you felt like the X was too heavy.
I'm really excited to try the X in this new Harmony, because I really wanted to love the Pulse X. It's just a smidge too heavy for me.
Yeah.
which I don't know. Maybe I need to hit the gym or something. Like, I'm a big dude, but you know, anything over 120, I'm just like, ooh,
just reads
that's too heavy.
High. Have you seen what the new ones look like? Did you see the picture on Discord?
No.
Here, I pulled it up because I knew you would want it. So I actually really I like the look of the concept paddle better.
Yeah, turn it
so
this way
I'll throw this on screen as well, but it's got
bad.
blue, some blue lines. It's got kind of these blue tones to it, in addition to the black.
You have an Aurora?
Oh yeah. Right behind you is it looks a little bit like the Aurora. Why don't you grab that and show it to the camera? Yeah, so there's some I can see that. Yeah, the line similarities.
The lines are going this way.
So this is a matter of opinion, but I really like the plain black look of the concept paddle.
I did too.
If they could offer both, that would be perfect.
That's
I
why
would love it.
That's why I was a little disappointed to hear that the Mark unMarked is going to have graphics on it. I like that minimalist design.
He doesn't care what we think.
He doesn't.
Neither does Ivan.
No.
They're going to do what they want. But anyway, so this is supposed to release. This is going to release in the summer. So we got a little bit of time here, even though it's almost May already. Jeez. I imagine, end of May, June, something like that. But we'll keep you updated when we get some new ones.
Send me a Pulse X, Ivan.
Yeah,
please.
You'll like it better than the other one. Or Pulse X, the Harmony.
I'm
X,
not a Pulse X, Harmony X.
Yeah,
scratch that.
You're gonna like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I don't know what the price is, but we'll see. And then we also had. This has been. So we had this before it was released, but since it's been 5 weeks since we had a podcast, we haven't had a chance to talk about the Engage Pursuit innovations. We got those both here. Let's dig those out of our pile. So we've got both thicknesses. Why don't you take that one there?
Mm-hmm.
They're now calling them, instead of MX and MX 6.0 or whatever they're straight up saying in the name, 12.7 millimeter versus 14.3. Right?
15.2.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, you're right. I was thinking paddle tech thickness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. But they say right on it.
Yeah,
so you know.
Does.
So this is the Pursuit Pro 1, 12.7, Innovation, 15.2.
Mm-hmm.
This is closely related to the Pursuit Pro MX and MX 6.0 that Engage first came out with, that, had the raw carbon fiber after the Ultras that were horrible. But there was these with some changes. And you haven't hit these yet.
I have not. No. I was going to say one of my first mains starting out 2.5 years ago was the Pursuit Pro MX 6.0.
Was it really?
That's
kind of a power paddle, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
No, you've gone downhill from there. But those were definitely more heavy than these. I'll say the Pursuit Pro MX 6.0 in particular. Man, the swing weights on some of those were pushing 130. These are not light by any means. So the 15.2 there, even though I think it doesn't feel like it. The swing weight on that. So it doesn't feel bad. What do you guess the swing weight is, Brent?
God, I'm so bad at guessing swing weight. 120.
That is a pretty bad guess, Brent.
Yes.
So that's 126.
This is 126?
Yeah. And I think that's a testament to, and I haven't measured this.
That does not feel 120. Like the Gearbox, what was that, 123?
What?
The
120
ultimate power.
That one that we just had was 125. So that was supposed to be lighter than this one, only according to swing weight.
Yeah,
This is a testament to balance point.
Yeah.
This is why balance point's important. So if you look at the core, which I think I have one right there on the wall. Brent, will you grab that core, that black one with your left arm there?
This one?
Yeah. So if you can reach that, show the camera so you can see this green foam that circles kind of the top parameter. That's what they use in some of their edge reinforcement of the Pro 1, like 6.0 and some of those. So I imagine, I don't know for sure that that's the exact kind they're still using these, but they shifted it down to bring the balance point down. Also, the sweet spot is a little bit lower on these in comparison to some, like maybe the Pursuit Pro 6 MX and MX 6.0. So, like if you hold it like a lever, right? It's balanced more this way than previously was more head heavy. So even though the swing weight's high, the balance point feels a little bit lower.
I guess that's the concept of like flick weights and slice caps.
That's exactly
bring it balance point down so it doesn't feel like it's 125 swing weight.
It a little. Exactly, yeah. I think it's a little less heavy than that might imply. These are, typical Engage technology. Nothing new coming out here per se.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's like a jaw-dropping upgrade or whatever compared to any of the things they have out. It's kind of a side grade.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like they have better sweet spots than some of the ones we talked about last time, like the super light ones that we were hitting before, the hybrid models and whatever. The sweet spot is a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I think the plow through is a little bit better because of the added weight. But they have that typical Gen 1, large cell size, plush, absorbent feel to them. I'd say these have always been really akin to the PaddleTech paddles, but just less poppy.
Yeah.
Less pop and arguably pretty comparable plow through power. So for people who like the feel of a Gen 1, power paddle, I would say that these are it, but less poppy than the PaddleTechs. And you've got to be okay with, I wouldn't say like a heavy feeling paddle, but a swing weight that feels probably closer to like 120, even though on the thicker one it's reserved 126 and the lighter one was 117 because the balance point's lower. It makes it feel a little bit less. So.
It does, yeah. That did not feel like a stereotypical 126 swing weight when I just was. I mean, granted, I didn't take a full swing or I'm not playing with it, but it just did not feel like 126 to me. Yeah,
and in addition to that, the Gearbox paddles all have a really high balance point.
Yeah.
So that kind of adds to the high swing weight. And then we've got a new paddle in. I've played one session with this, and Brent hasn't played with it yet at all. But Friday Pickleball, known for their just making good deals and selling volumes of paddles. Yeah, I really do. So they've come out with a Gen 3 paddle. This is their Fever. This is one of the cover or color designs that they have. And I think I might need to check. Let me double check real quick if I have permission to share this. And if I do, I will. So it's got 2 perimeter layers of foam, but so it's nothing jaw-dropping in terms of, what the baseline tech is, but they took that inner layer of foam and went further down with it. So it goes almost down to where it curves down here, whereas most paddles with an interior foam, they stop maybe right here or so, but this goes further down and it's pretty thick too. So it's not a thin layer. They also use CNC cutting, so to cut out the polypropylene core that's in the middle of this. And so it looks pretty crisp. The pictures that he showed me of the core, some of that foam is, makes contact with the polypropylene. So there is a break-in period. So there will be some period of time where you'll have to kind of break it in over a few days. And he's well aware of that. He was also really worried because these first models came in really light. He's like, oh, you're going to have to weight it up. This one weighed 7.7 ounces. So it's really light. But although it doesn't feel like too light in the hand, he's like, you're going to have to weight it really up. Well, I played with it stock today. And I thought actually it played really well stock. Nice. I probably would add some weight. Yeah. But more for power. I thought the sweet spot was really good. We're going to have to update you after Brent gets a chance to play with it and after I break mine in. And, I'll probably have a review of these, when they come out. But so far, the feel is really nice. They feel really plush. I can tell just kind of the feel of it has a Gen 3 needs a break-in feel. So I'm excited to see what the power does after I break it in. It feels maybe on the border of control and all court. Okay. So not crazy powerful, but the feel is good. Yeah. The control is really nice. I actually played pretty well with it. I'm excited to see what happens to the absorption and the propulsion and power after it breaks in and that core kind of frees up a little bit. Yeah,
especially since it's in contact.
Yeah, exactly. Core, yeah. So that's what'll happen is that foam will break from the polypropylene and become more mobile. These are going to sell. So for the first couple of weeks or so, they'll be $99, and if you use affiliate links, they'll be $95 or $90 or something, which is it is a good deal, I'd say. And they have been testing these over several months. They haven't had any core crushing so far, but take that with a grain of salt. And they haven't been in the public for a long time, but all in all, the price is nice, and they do look really cool.
Yeah, for a foam enhanced paddle at that price point, there's not many options to choose from at that price point.
Yeah, they still have that. They have that kind of ridged grip. Yeah,
not a fan of that grip either.
I didn't think you were gonna be. Brent doesn't like the non-flat grip
purist. Yeah, flat, not tacky. Just
I actually thought that when I picked it up, I was like, I might want to replace that, but actually, it felt good playing with it. So Give it a chance, Brent. Don't be biased.
I will. Before I wrap it in a dry overgrip.
Okay, that's all for the ones that we've hit. We have some coming up. Brent and I both got the Joola Hyperion. I put one session on this. Brent hasn't hit it at all yet. So you did say earlier, and this is interesting to me. They call this an elongated paddle, but I actually noticed from Matt's Pickleball, Matt Curie. Yeah, he measured it himself. These are actually not a full 16.5. They're like somewhere between 16.35 and 16.4, and they feel like it.
Like so they don't more feel like a hybrid feel?
I do think they feel hybrid shaped. Like I played with it today, and the sweet spot location with the maybe marginal, lower length. Yeah. It does feel more like a hybrid. I think it plays like a hybrid paddle, not an elongated paddle.
That honestly like makes sense from a product line perspective.
Yeah.
To make I know they say it's an elongated 16.5, but if it was actually like 16.35 or 16.4 to have a hybrid option, because the Agassi is elongated, the Perseus is elongated, and then you have this one that's elongated.
It's like, what's the difference now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a pretty typical. Yeah. It almost looks very typical mold wise. For a hybrid paddle, and that's how it plays. But I'm interested to see if it needs a little bit of a break-in to kind of loosen up.
Yeah,
it felt a little stiffer than I expected today, but I've only had one session on it, so that's coming. We also got a couple of paddles from Onix, and either of us haven't hit these yet, but the 𝒂𝒂𝒅𝒅𝒍𝒅 Pro. I tested the 10 millimeter of this. These aren't new, but they're new to us in this thicknesses. These were very poppy. Oh, and they have Brent's favorite grip.
Oh yeah,
you see that? They've got the corrugated grip there. I actually really like these grips. So those on the horizon, and the Onix Malice. These are interesting because they got the kind of the top edge guard there.
What?
I haven't seen those in a while.
Is that more for like weighting?
I don't know.
Because if it's going to be an edge guard, it shouldn't be across the top.
I think that's more the contact point. I think it's more protective. Okay. I think they're trying to protect the corners here because it's overall an edgeless paddle, the Onix Malice. It's got a few holes in here. It's got a little rubber insert here, which
help with like vibration.
Yeah, I assume is a vibration-y thing. But it feels like in the hand, it feels maneuverable, like whippy. Like I'm actually really excited. I wonder, it is spray on. I think this is spray on grit, if I'm going to guess. So I don't know what the durability on that's going to be like, but this actually feels like it's going to be a fun paddle to handle.
Tennis rackety with the throat right here.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, functionality wise, I don't know, but it does have an interesting look, and I'm genuinely excited to test that out. So that's on the horizon. So this is also on the horizon. We got a few paddles in to test from Komodo Pickleball.
Oh.
So Komodo has a Gen 3 in two thicknesses. The Furi. I haven't even unwrapped these yet, but we've got the Furi 16. So this is a Gen 3, and to be transparent, a lot of companies call a paddle Gen 3, and I don't know what it is that they call this Gen 3 for. So I should clarify that, or cut it open or something. I was like, it's got foam right here. But no, I don't know. I assume it's probably some sort of an extra layer of perimeter foam. But they've got the 16 here. They come in red and blue. I haven't even unwrapped this yet, as you can see here. But I actually really like the blue color that this one is.
Oh, the blue is nice, yeah.
Yeah, they've got kind of a wider
slick.
handle.
Yeah.
You can feel the handle's wide, but man, the blue looks really good. And these are, did you see the price on these? Have you looked these up? So these are like $120, $130 or something before coats. Yeah, so
the market getting the low 100s to sub 100 Gen 3s out now. Okay.
Yeah, again, like all these, who knows what tariffs are going to do, but So I've talked to some companies that are like, we found a workaround. We're not going to have any changes. And then others are like, I'm going to eat the costs. And then some others are like, we can't handle it. Like, we're going to have to go up with some of these budget companies.
I know Carbon released a statement a few days ago that said that they're going to try their best pretty much not to increase any prices.
No promises, though.
But no promises,
Yeah.
Which is, I
get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, one more thing. So we've got the Head Motion Pro Boa shoes. These are super interesting. These showed up on our door unexpected, but pleasantly surprised and happy about it.
Just because the UNC blue on
Yeah,
there.
I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I actually complained to Chris from Pickleball Central that they didn't offer the squares. They had Duke blue shade, but not UNC blue.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, these were here. And I was like, yes.
Your words have power. Dustin.
Exactly. Yeah. So these are interesting. So they function with ratchets, like these little circle things.
That is cool. I'm really excited to try that out.
Yeah. I haven't played with them yet, but I just kind of been wearing them around the house and walking with them. So I'm still wearing my squares right now, and they feel good. And they're so quick and they're so easy and they feel pretty firm. I do wonder. So they got some other pro attributes, but I wonder like if that ratchet fails,
That's what I was
it's
thinking.
all done. It's all
Exactly.
over. And they do have just like these the strings are thin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those are probably not going to be replaced. So I think the question is, are these going to hold up in that regard? But they do advertise like a reinforced big toe.
The sole looks pretty beefy on it.
It is, yeah. I wore them around, like kind of walking around today. It feels thicker. And then you can see it kind of wraps around. So if you're wearing on the inside of your toe at all, there's
Like
some
you.
reinforcements. Yeah. And then I don't know if you noticed this yet, but it has these. You see the bottom of the shoe there?
Is it like ventilation?
Yeah, it's ventilated and it comes through the sole there, the like ortholite soles.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's super functional or not, but it's something.
I've had some running shoes that had that feature in it before. Do not step in a mud puddle. Because it allows ventilation out, but it also comes right through.
I didn't even think of that. Okay, so these might be
yeah.
ones that you take to the court.
Yeah, maybe.
Or don't wear
Or
on a
just
rainy day.
be careful about stepping in water anywhere.
These are a little more expensive than the squares. I think they're $200 before discounts. Pickleball Central does links now. They don't do codes, so I'll put the link below. We'll get 10% off, and we'll get to wearing them and testing them.
Yeah, I'm excited for this new little ratchet system.
Yeah,
I am a little concerned about durability. Like, we're not going to know until we put some miles on them, literally. But that little ratchet system for someone that has unique feet like myself, like to be able to customize, like, all right, for this part of my foot, I want to really dial it down, and this part I want to, because what happens to me sometimes is like I will have the shoes pretty tight for the toe part and the forefoot, but once it gets up to the ankle, it's almost too tight. And so this is going to allow me to pretty easily adjust it versus like having to pull all the laces through and it just
and it
seems
quick.
like it'll be easier.
I was putting it on today and it was just like and it was like done. Yeah. So it'll be fun to see. I really hope they hold up. Okay. That's about it. Yeah. Anything else from you, Brent?
No. We went through a lot in that catch-up episode.
Yeah, we did.
A lot to report back on.
I don't know how long we went. What time is it?
It's close to midnight, it feels
That's
like.
Not bad. Yeah, we started kind of late. I don't know.
True.
We'll see what the runtime is.
Maybe it's only like an hour and a half then.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever it is, it's chock full of good stuff, though.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to hopefully my life calming down a little bit and letting me get back on the court a little bit more and test out paddles and shoes and grips. And yeah, just looking forward to getting that back on track.
Basically, Brent sucks at pickleball now.
Yes, I do. My confidence just...
Otherwise, thanks for joining us for the 12th. The 1 dozen number episode of the PB Med podcast. I'm Dustin, your host, here with your co-host Brent. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you guys for the next one.
See ya.